I should have like a theme song, like a Pepper Ann style theme song for movie rants. That would be cool. Hey, what's up everyone? We're doing one of these again. It's Movie Rants. It's back for the second time. Hopefully this one isn't cut off at the end. Hopefully that doesn't happen. But hey, great news. We're talking about another Spider-Man fan film. I pivoted solely to fan film related reviews. Nothing else, just this forever. You think I'm going to review a TV show or something? Nope, just fan films. But this one's actually really cool. And to be fair, this fan film is actually the length and longer than most TV shows. That's right, we're talking about The Lonely Spider's Power and Responsibility. A movie that just recently came out, and it is a massive endeavor. It's 2 hours long. It took about a year and a half to film, I believe. That's what Eric told me. I hope that's correct. And here we are, we're going to look at it. We're going to break down 4 things that I loved about it. We're going to have links to those areas in the description. We're going to look at the 4 parts of this film that I think are most worth talking about, which are lighting, characters' arcs, the world building, and how each character and actor bring a life and authenticity to their roles and performance. And here we go. When talking about characters in a Spider-Man film, you gotta start with Spider-Man. And I think Eric is genuinely a really good Spider-Man. I think he brings an energy to Spider-Man that is quippy and fun, and he's real. But then also his Spider-Man can turn on a dime and be like, hey, let's talk. He tries to talk to... The thing I love about this film is that every single time Spider-Man meets a couple of these villains, he doesn't just start off punching. He's like, hey, what's up? Why are you attacking this person? Why are you attacking this, company? He tries to reason with these people as people. He doesn't automatically jump in and start punching. I think that's really cool and that's really different. Yeah, he'll quip, but he still is trying to see his villains as people, which, to be fair, is a major arc in this movie. And I think even before they say that, you can see these actions and these ideas being presented through how Spider-Man acts to these villains. And on the Peter Parker standpoint, Eric nails it once again. He, who is, he's Spider-Man, he's Spider-Man in this movie, he's the Spider-Man of Power and Responsibility. His Peter Parker ranges from, funny and, a nerd. He's into Weezer, which, by the way, wonderful. Peter Parker would totally be into Weezer. But he's also willing to be emotional. He's also, he was pushed to a limit when Uncle Ben died. And you can see the rage, and you can see the sadness in that Peter Parker, and you can see the fact that he's not fully, dealt with that yet. There's still these lingering thoughts that he's having. He doesn't know if the city wants him. He's being manipulated by Norman Osborn in a way. And as this film goes on and he realizes more about himself and more about, the people around him, he grows as a hero. I think in that way, you gotta move on to, something I also really love about his Peter Parker is that he has friends. He's not, a loner. He has a great Gwen actress who's, I honestly wish we'd seen more of her in the movie. I really thought her and Peter had good chemistry. Eric's friend Noah, who I've heard is a legitimate actor, and you can tell that for the way he plays Harry. Harry is this person who's dealing with these home expectations, and he feels like he can be himself around Peter, and you can see that he has these clashing worlds, something that Peter 100% understands. And I think this scene where, Harry finds out that Peter is Spider-Man. It's a really good scene. I think my favorite scene with Harry is the flashback to when him and Peter met. There's this wonderful uncut shot of Harry and Peter on a rock just talking, being real with each other. And you feel the authenticity in that scene because the camera doesn't cut. You're just letting 2 characters sit and exist. And I think that's something really cool and allows all these characters to feel real and authentic. I think one of my favorite performances is the guy who plays Dr. Octopus. I'm going to put his name right here. I don't have any of these people's names memorized. I've talked about him before with Eric, but I'm going to put, this is the guy who plays Dr. Octopus, and he fucking is amazing. I love this version of Dr. Octopus because he feels so much like the version that I love from the comics. I think there's really, when you do Dr. Octopus for any movie, whether it's a fan film or a Raimi film or the PS4 video game, there's always this desire to do a redeemable Doc Ock who he's compassionate and he's been driven by maybe the arms, or maybe he's been manipulated, or he's just angry about something. but he's still like a good person. What I love about this version of Doc Ock is there's a little bit of that there. Like, you understand that, like, Reed Richards stole his stuff. He wants his arms. He wants his recognition. And you do feel some sympathy there. But at the end of the day, he's still, like, a villain. He's still evil. And you can see him wrestle with that. But at the end, he's like, I'm doing what I want. I'm making the Sinister Six. I'm the master planner. And the way that this actor is this maniacal, like, theater version of Doc Ock, it makes him feel like more of a threat. There is no redeeming this version of Doc Ock currently. Obviously, you can build there. But what makes him cool is that he's stuck in the middle for a little bit, but he chooses to go evil. He chooses, like, when they're talking about killing Spider-Man, he's like, I don't want to kill Spider-Man, but if, like, I have to, I will, because I'm full in on this evil. And I think that's really cool, is you see a Doc Ock who's committed to being who he is in this movie. And also, I really like the arms, the special effects guys, Adrian, I believe. I'll put a little thing up here that's wrong. Adrian did an amazing job with the arms. I love the way they look. I love the way they move. I like that they do over-the-shoulder shots, and you can see, like, the arm just, like, dangling around, so it feels like it's really there. It's great stuff. On the subject of villains, on the other realm, like, Doc Ock, who's, like, truly evil, and he's, like, not truly evil. He's not Kraven the Hunter. And on that subject, the guy who plays Kraven the Hunter, oh my god, he's so into it. He is having the time of his life, and I am here for it. I love all of his delivery. I love all the way he interacts. I think what's really cool about Kraven is Kraven's, like, objectively evil. He wants to kill Spider-Man. He wants to hunt Spider-Man. When they find out that he's a kid, Kraven's like, who fucking cares? I'm gonna murder Spider-Man. And the way that, like, not everyone agrees with that. These villains are people. They have, like, complex emotions. And I think Kraven works as this, like, if you do this, like, alignment chart style, Kraven is chaotic evil. Otto, I think, is more like a neutral evil, or he's like a neutral evil. Whereas then you go to someone like Shocker and Sandman, who, like, they're evil and they're, like, stealing Bitcoin and stuff, but they're still, like, Shocker's not like, I'm not gonna kill a kid. He says, I'm not about that. Same with Sandman, who, you know, he has a daughter. He understands, like, times are hard, and they both turn to crime because of their, like, personal situations, but they're not, like, megalomaniacs. They're doing it because they have to, and I think something that Eric does really well is show that, like, not all of Spider-Man's villains are objectively evil people. There's layers to them, and I think no better can that be seen in this film's portrayal of Electro. Like, honest to gosh, it's one of my favorite performances in any Spider-Man fan film I've watched, because Electro in the comics is Max Dillon, and he's always meant to be like this man of the world. Like, he's the on-the-street guy. He's not a scientist. He's not a crazy Russian dude. He's just a guy who was given powers, and he's doing regular stuff with them. He feels the world wronged him, and in this version of Electro, you see that, like, the world did wrong him. His mom's dying. He doesn't have a lot of money, and the only way he can, like, get what he sees is rightfully his, and, like, what he needs is by becoming Electro. And you can see that he battles with that. He's not, like, an evil person, but he works through this moniker of Electro, and he realizes that he can get what he wants through this. He's not 100% down for it. He's still conflicted. And I think that conflict with Electro and how it mirrors, like, Peter's arc, which we'll get to later with Colors, it works really well by tying those characters together. He feels fully three-dimensional. And I think the best example of Eric just making fully three-dimensional characters can be seen in Flash Thompson, who earlier in the film you feel is, like, 100% this, like, oh, it's Flash Thompson. He even says the I wouldn't want to fight me neither line, which cracked me up. And so, you know, he feels like this, oh, he's just the 2D bully. He's going to beat up Peter. And then you learn that, like, he has a Spider-Man fan club. You get this amazing scene where, like, Spider-Man shows up to the fan club, and Flash is like, you're Peter Parker, aren't you? Peter's like, what? And then, I'm not going to spoil the scene entirely, because it's this amazing scene where it's just Spider-Man and Flash talking, and you learn more about Flash. You learn, like, why he says the things he did, how he feels about it. He changes, and it's this amazing scene where you suddenly see Flash Thompson as more than just, oh, he's the bully. You see him as a person. And almost every character has that moment where they're not just a villain, they're not just a hero. They're a person, fully formed, fully realized, And I think that's the greatest thing about this movie, is that every single person feels real. Much too cool for 7th grade. This is a 2-hour movie. That's amazing. Holy shit. Think about that for a moment. Someone made a 2-hour Spider-Man fan film. And in case you're wondering, this is the scale aspect of this review. Because to me, 2 hours is a long time. That's longer than Venom Let There Be Carnage, Into the Spider-Verse, and I think the first Raimi Spider-Man. That's insane to think about. But what Eric does with this movie is he paces it so well. And for me, that's why the movie works. It doesn't feel like 2 hours, but you get what 2 hours worth of Spider-Man content is needed within it. And what Eric does so well is pace this film. It doesn't feel like 2 hours, but the scale feels massive. From ideas of like the Avengers exist in this world, of Nova exists in this world, we get Daredevil, he's not really calling himself Daredevil anymore. There's a past with him. We don't get too much about it, but we know that it exists. And that's great because it makes this world feel lived in. The fact that there's this really fun shot where like you can see the Watcher in the background. It feels like a comic book universe. And something I love about that is it puts a world where Spider-Man exists, but he's not alone. Like, for example, when he's fighting Kraven the Hunter, Nova comes down and it's like, hey, I saved your ass. And then he dips because Nova has other things to do. He can't just be saving Spider-Man constantly, but he does exist in this world. A fan film universe where it's not just Spider-Man is unique and it's cool and it makes it feel like bigger. And on that subject, I think not only the scale physically is cool about this movie, but the scale like emotionally and like metaphorically is cool. There's allusions to like 9/11. There's this idea of like Norman Osborn who is using a great tragedy to exploit the people and further his own political gain. That's extremely relevant. It's got political, but like that's something that we can see like right now. The fact that like unemployment is high and people are turning to crime like Electro. They don't see anywhere else to go. There's no hope. This Spider-Man film tackles a lot of real ideas and a lot of real issues, and the scale on that is so cool. By the way, I forgot to mention it in the actors, but the guy who plays Norman Osborn, he's played by Ohio's own Tim Misny. That's a joke for like 5 people. But no, seriously. The guy who plays Norman Osborn, he's phenomenal. He's really good, and he's terrifying without ever being the Green Goblin in this movie. There's this scene where he's like getting Peter to do a speech, and you can just see that like he towers over Peter. And it's really well done. His and Harry's relationship is really engaging as well. But the scale of this movie is why it works so well in like its largeness. It doesn't feel like self-contained. It feels like there's more aspects to it. And on that subject, the fact that this deals not only with like Peter's arc, Electro's arc, Daredevil's arc, you get enough time to deal with all these people so none of their arcs feel rushed or just out of nowhere. And I think that's really cool. The last thing I have to say about scale is the fact that I'm still blown away by the fact this is 2 hours. Like, Eric put so much of himself and so much of his time and effort and, like, life into this film, and you can see it in every minute of the movie because it's passionate, it's real, and it just feels so amazing. It's a theatrical length short, like, it's a theatrical length fan film. And the fact that it's not, like, it doesn't feel rushed, it doesn't feel like shit, it doesn't feel cheap in any way, I really enjoy that. I mentioned it in the characters part, but I think the arc in this movie is outstanding. This idea of a Peter Parker who nearly killed the man who killed Uncle Ben, coming to terms with and wrestling with that is outstanding. The way that you can watch this film and see that it weighs on him, it hurts him. And the fact that he didn't see the Uncle Ben's killer as a person, he saw him as a monster. And the way that that can be then, like, aligned with Norman Osborn, who's pointing at these supervillains. He goes, these aren't people, these are monsters. They're taking over our city. They're destroying our neighborhoods. And Spider-Man has to stop them. And as Spider-Man, like, gets into this, he gets into, like, fighting Dr. Octopus. He gets into fighting, like, Kraven and Shocker and Sandman. He's, like, tackling the fact, is Osborn right? Are these people just monsters? Or are they just people? And as you, like, look further into the film, you look at like Shocker, you look at like Electro, and you go, these are people. This isn't a black and white situation. And Peter realizes that too. And the fact that he has to come to terms with that and wrestle with that and be able to move on, that's outstanding. The best example of Peter's arc is this idea of Uncle Ben's glove. Earlier in the film, they're selling things, and he's like, oh, I can't sell this Yankees glove. This means so much to me. This is an important piece of like memorabilia. And as the film progresses and you watch Peter learn about moving on, learning to come to terms with things, it all culminates in this moment where you look inside the box of things being sold and there's Uncle Ben's glove. This amazing like visual metaphor for Peter moving on, coming to terms with his new life. The shadow of what he's done and his past no longer haunts him, so he's able to let go of Uncle Ben. Not like in the fact he's like, oh, fuck Uncle Ben, I don't need him anymore. But he's come to terms with like that moment where he nearly killed that man. It doesn't define him anymore. He's able to grow and he's able to learn. And that is so fucking deep. That is like a complex thing that's not treated like black and white either. Peter wrestles with it. He talks with Harry about it. He talks to Flash about it. You learn that there's more to what's going on than just surface level stuff. And I think that's stuff that like some movies don't understand about Spider-Man. Like he's a very complex character. Another character who, and I talked about in characters as well, has this outstanding arc is Electro. You watch as he and Peter meet, and it's Max Dillon, and he's like, hey, like my mom's like has cancer, and I'm like, I don't have enough money, and Peter tries to give him money, and he's like, I'm selling drugs, and he doesn't want like handouts. You see like a broken, hurting person who's being turned to just the worst side of humanity to like deal with his issues. And when that falls through, he turns to like becoming Electro, and you can see that he's conflicted about this. And I think the most just breathtaking moment is at the end when him and Peter have this final fight. They both remove their masks. They're no longer these like personas of each other. They're people. They're man-to-man fighting, and they're man-to-man talking as their unmasked true selves. And Electro being the one who like starts with the I'm not gonna kill a kid, because he knows that Peter's Spider-Man. The moment where they meet each other and they realize who they are and who the other person is done so well, and it's heartbreaking in a lot of ways. Also, the guy who plays Electro, really good. He's really good in this movie. But I think with Electro, also a great, very good design. I think it's very unique. I think it's really cool. It's kind of creepy in a way. But like Peter and Electro, they mirror each other. The fact that they're both people who were pushed to their limits, and one just went farther than the other. Peter held himself back from that edge, but Max embraced it. Not fully of his own accord and not fully knowing what he was embracing, but he took that line. He gets vengeance on those guys who harmed him. He nearly kills one of them. You watch as like he is in this downward spiral, but at the end, and it's so well done. I know Eric talked about, spoilers. Eric talked about how initially, to me at least, he talked about how initially he was going to kill Electro, and I think that would have been really bad. I think that would have been a bad decision, but he let him live because it shows that even if you go down this path, there's still a way up. There's still redemption for Electro. And so when Peter reaches out his hand to him, Max takes it. He's willing to come back. And that's really important too for Peter, because Peter realizes that he can come back from his mistakes too. Also, I want to talk about Daredevil. I didn't mention him in characters, but Colin plays this outstanding Matt Murdock, this outstanding Daredevil who comes into confrontation with Peter and in the beginning is very dismissive of him. He's a brutal person. He's turned into this brutal person, and he's like, "You gone soft, Spider-Man. New York doesn't need you the way you are. You need to be worse. You need to be more brutal." And you can see that this version of Daredevil has been Daredevil for a while. The system has beaten him down. He's been beaten down himself, and he's seeing that Spider-Man is getting this way too. But at the end, when Spider-Man, and also Daredevil doesn't see these criminals as like people either. He's just like, they're another cog in the machine, prison for life. And at the end of the movie, Peter is able to convince Matt that no, you have to help save these people because they can be redeemed. I've seen it myself. I've seen it firsthand, and you have to fight for them. And Daredevil comes to this realization that that's true. That's what he needs to do. And that's a wonderful culmination of his arc. I really think that, like, all these characters getting full fleshed out arcs and full, like, moments of redemption is what makes this movie work. Because in the end of the day, Spider-Man is a character about redemption, about learning and growing. And growth for Spider-Man is essential. And I think Eric has this fundamental understanding of growth being the message of this movie. It's about learning and being better. And I think that's so fucking important. It's really cool, man. Much too cool for 7th grade. Lighting is a really difficult thing to pull off in filming. It's there's a lot of, like, angles, and you want, like, the right, like, measurement of it. But I think what Power and Responsibility does is it uses lighting in a really different way than I've ever seen in another Spider-Man fan film. Now, mind you, really quick, I haven't watched that many. I've watched a good deal. I've watched all the big ones, but I haven't seen, like, a million of them. So, you know, maybe there's another Spider-Man fan film that's, like, a giallo film with its lighting. You know what I mean? Like, I haven't seen any of them, so don't like take my word at, like, this is the gospel. But I never was. What Eric does with lighting in this movie is really cool, and actually you could argue that some of it is giallo, but not really, because I don't know if my giallo to, like, fully make that statement. But anyway, what Power and Responsibility does that I think is so cool is it uses color and lighting to both visually tell the story and visually show you where characters are. The opening scene in this movie is Peter beating this man to death with red and blue flashing around him, which makes you think of, like, the cops, but also it's his mood. The red and the blue, the anger and the peace, they're fighting within him. They're battling for which one is going to be in control of Spider-Man's soul. And as the movie progresses, you watch that Spider-Man is often basked in, like, blues, where people like Electro are often basked in these reds. And no better can that scene be shown, that idea be shown, in this amazing dream sequence nightmare bathroom scene where Peter sees himself as Electro. And you get this wide shot of Peter in blue and Electro in red. And Peter realizes that if he went further, he would have become Electro. And Electro is in this state of mind that he himself was in one point. And because of that, he realized that he can bring Electro to where he is. If he can overcome his demons, so can Electro. No one is beyond being redeemed. And even this idea, when we first meet Max, the coloring isn't blue or red. It's purple. Max hasn't chosen himself yet. He's still confused. He's still in this middle area. So we see that in the purple lighting. And it's really ingenious to have our introduction to this character who's going to be being pulled from both sides in the middle of the colors combined. Red and blue equal purple. So Max being basked in purple is a wonderful visual metaphor for who his character is. And I think the best example of this, and I didn't notice this the first time I watched, is when Daredevil hands Peter a file the first time, it's a red file because he's not seeing these people as people yet. He's viewing them through, like, an evil lens. But at the end, when Peter gives Daredevil the files on the villains to treat them like humans, to fight from, the file is blue because now it's at peace. That's really cool. It's this intricate little detail that not even I, film connoisseur 101, noticed. And the fact that Eric put things like that in his film shows how much attention to detail he has in caring for this story to be told. And I really admire him for that. Also, I think these really bright colors make it feel more like a comic book. When we meet Mysterio and Dr. Octopus, they're in this room and it's basked in green. You could argue that it's because they're both talking about jealousy and green is the color of envy. But you could also just argue that they're both characters associated with green, so it makes sense to put green on them. But I would say it's a bit of both. The green, obviously, because of how they feel, but also because it just looks cool. It feels comic booky. And I think it's this wonderful blend in Eric's movie where it's like things clearly have a deeper meaning, but also some stuff is just because it's a comic book short film. It's 2 hours. It's wonderful. So it's this binding of these two ideas that makes the lighting work so well. Because sometimes it's clearly meant with a vision and a purpose, and it works so well. But other times it's just to give a scene like this feeling of being larger than life with this comic book sense. The Mysterio illusion sequence is lit phenomenally well. It's eerie, it's terrifying. This shot of Adam just in green light with this reflective helmet, it's really creepy. And it works so well in that area. And I think another thing is like when it's not being like bright, colorful lighting, the lighting in general is just really good. I think Shawn did some color correction on it, but like the way Eric like lines up all these shots and like makes them look is wonderful. It's very good, just like cinematography in general. This is the lighting cinematography section now. Like this shot of like Gwen and Peter outside on this bench, it doesn't feel like typical Spider-Man. It feels something out of like an indie film, and I think that really works for like what this conversation is. I joked about it, but there's this really good shot of like him next to this model Star Destroyer. It's just lined up well. It's center framed. There's a wonderful Harry Osborn shot where he's just in the center of the frame, very Wes Anderson-like. My favorite shot is this shot of Daredevil in front of this big courthouse. It's just a really well shot. And I think that's with the lighting as well, is even when it's not trying to be flashy and in your face, it's subtle enough and it still works. And I think it's this wonderful mixture of those two elements that is so elegant and so well done. I think what Eric has done with Power and Responsibility is show not only his fundamental understanding of Spider-Man as a character, but show his fundamental understanding of film as a medium. He uses every single shot, every single piece of dialogue, all the lighting, all the angles to tell this story in all areas. And I am just massively impressed by the undergoing of this entire movie. I think with like, and I said it in the Power and Responsibility. I said it in the Best of Memories. I gotta know the names of these things, man. I'm in one of them. I'm in both of these. I didn't even talk about my cameo. I'll talk about my cameo of the moment. But I'm going to praise this amazing filmmaker I know first. What I think Eric has just shown is that fan films are not just this silly thing that kids in Halloween costumes make. He shows that, like, and to be fair, a lot of people have done such excellent things with them. But I think Eric's movie is this wonderful, just shining example that there are people making these movies that have such passion and artistic knowledge, and I love seeing that. I got to hear like the build up to this film for like a year, and watching it come out and seeing all the effort that he put into it is outstanding. I love seeing artists make their art and then having people be able to rightfully praise things that are so well done. I think every single person involved. The music in this film is outstanding. I know the composer. His name is Adrian. He's a really cool guy, and he killed it. The Mysterio illusion sequence, the score there is so good. The whole effects in the illusion sequence are spectacular. Everyone who did those effects work should be so proud of themselves. Just the editing, the color grading, every single piece of this film works in conjunction to make this 2-hour-long, massive art project of beauty. My clock is going off. I'm gonna cut that out, or I'll keep it in. And honestly, I just can't wait to see what Eric has in store. Whether it be more time-traveling Toyota stuff, whether it be another Spider-Man project, whether it be just something entirely different. I got to be like sort of a co-writer. He did most of the work. He should take full credit for it. But like, I got to be in this amazing little short film called I Am Fine that he did. That was really cool, and I love seeing stuff like that. I can't wait to see what he has ready for in the future, and I can't wait to be a part of any of it if like he wants me to, because I was in this movie. I was waiting till the end, totally planned. I get to be the one that talks to Colin's Daredevil about all the metahumans and whatnot in New York. I play a really not well-known character, very deep cut, named Peter Henry Gyrick. Gyrick is a character who often serves in the comics as liaison of the US government to the Avengers or other superhero teams. In this movie, he is like a S.H.I.E.L.D. agent who is tasked to talk to Daredevil. Now, in the comics, I love this character, and I'll tell you why I'm in this movie in a moment. But I love this character because his superpower is that he is a bureaucrat. He is nothing supernatural, nothing superhuman. His power is he is a government agent, and he is obnoxiously, like, in sync with what's going on. He knows all the rules, he knows all the laws, he, like, commands, like, these organizations. He's a character that the Avengers cannot punch. They have to just deal with all the ticks and buzzards of bureaucracy, and as someone who runs into bureaucracy with every job I've been into, I love how obnoxious he is, and I love the fact that he poses this different issue. And I think in Power Responsibility, so what happened was Eric and I were like on a PS4 chat or something, and we were talking, and Eric's like, what's a lesser known? This is my impression of Eric. What's a lesser known like Marvel character you think is cool? And I'm like, oh boy, I'm gonna talk about Peter Henry Gyrick. He was in the current Immortal Hulk run. He's in the current X-Men run right now. And I'm talking about how much I love this character. And so then, like, the next day, Eric like texts me on Instagram. He goes, hey, would you want to be in the movie? I'm like, I would fucking love to be in the movie. I would love to be in any way you can. Like, put me in. He goes, I need the S.H.I.E.L.D. agent to, like, talk to Matt, played by Colin. And he goes, it'd be really cool if you could be like, be like Peter Henry Gyrick, because you love that character. And so I got to go over, we filmed it at Shawn's house, same place, we filmed a lot of the Goblin scenes, and I got to just dress in a full suit, have a little green tie, because normally Peter Gyrick wears like an all-green suit. I don't have an all-green suit. I would love one though. And I wore my prescription sunglasses, because he's always wearing like sunglasses of sort. And so I got to like be this character that I'm so passionate about and I really care about. And the fact that Eric, being just this amazing guy he is, let me do that is so neat. Also, he let a lot of his friends be in this. There is cameos from other people in the fan film community. There's people that I know. My friend Josh and Declan have maybe my favorite cameo of these people getting interviewed by the news. And the one guy talking is Declan. And so the guy next to him is our friend Josh, who doesn't say anything during this interview. He's just looking so confused. And apparently that cut was like 2 minutes long, and they just couldn't get Josh's like dialogue in. So it's just this amazing, just funny thing. And then Brandon Mello, who I think does the Monsters of Manhattan stuff, he's Reed Richards, who is just Elon Musk in this movie, which I think is neat. Fuck Elon Musk. Not like fuck Brandon, but like Elon Musk is a weird dude. He wants to put microchips in our brains now. Ever hear about that? He's like, oh, I'm like, that's just Black Mirror, Elon Musk. By the way, fun fact, Elon Musk is short for elongated muskrat. I'm gonna cut that joke out. No, I'm not. But all in all, like, genuinely, I think Power Responsibility shows the testament of just a filmmaker in this space of Spider-Man fan films. I think it's really cool. I think it's really passionate, and I love everything about it, and I can't wait to see more. I just love that there's layers to it. I think that's so cool. I think in film in general, layers to your film is important. But I think Eric could have just been like, I'm gonna make just a simple Spider-Man movie. I'm just gonna like, punch some guys. He'll do a flip. But instead, he wanted to make this film more about the person that is Spider-Man. It's not just a Spider-Man film. It's a character study on Peter Parker dealing with his internal issues. Excuse me. And what makes that work so well is he didn't just give that to just Peter Parker. Every single character feels like they're real and they're genuine. And I think that's why I can't wait to watch more of Eric's stuff, so that you get this amazing layering of ideas. Check it out. I'll put a link to Power and Responsibility in the description. I will do it this time. I don't think I did for the last video, but I'm going to do it this time. But thank you so much for listening to all of this. Genuinely though, you should check out Eric's stuff, subscribe to his channel. He's a really great homie of mine, and he's a really great person in general. He's one of the most just genuine, sweet people that I've ever talked to. I've never met him because he doesn't live in the US, he lives in Canada, and I never will meet him, so that's cool. But, and also, he could not be real. He could be just CGIing himself to look different in all of his movies, metaverse style. But no, genuinely, go subscribe to his channel. Go watch all his videos. Go like him. Tell him I sent you. And hopefully you'll see me soon. Hopefully I'll be reviewing a non-Spider-Man related movie. Or we pivot to solely Spider-Man exclusive content on this. I'll do a No Way Home review. I'll talk about how they just kind of sort of put Thomas Hayden Church in that movie. He's not really in it, but he's kind of in it. But like and subscribe. Share the video with your friends. Show your parents. That's what's up. Tell your people about how much you love Peter Henry Gyrick. He's in a couple episodes of the Earth's Mightiest Heroes, good animated show. But yeah, go watch fucking Power and Responsibility. It is outstanding. Do I have anything else? No, I finally did it. Last video, I only had Chuck and Axelrod. Now I got Taylor and Wendy as well. I have all the Billions pops. I'm very proud of myself. This shirt is from Eric Leutz. I still need Season 4 and Season 5 of the show, but once I get it, I'll collected all the Infinity Gauntlets of Billions merch to put in these movies. If you know me, send me Billions merch. But no, also watch Power and Responsibility. And I thank you very much for listening to me talk for so long. It's called Movie Rants for a reason, baby. Much too cool for 7th grade. No, it's cooler than Pepper Ann. She's her own biggest fan.